Hey beloved, how are you this week? I hope it's been kind to you. I hope you had time to reflect. And I hope you were able to do everything that you wanted to do this week. Welcome to the Sunday Audit, where we reflect on the week and we are able to take some things that we learned and apply them to the next week. This week definitely challenged me when it came to discipline. I'm not talking about the loud kind or the performative one. Not even the one that kind of disrupts your nervous system, but the one that you committed to yourself, the small promises that you made throughout the week. For the longest time, I always thought if it was hard, it didn't count. If I wasn't truly exhausted after it happened, did it really matter? Did I dream big enough? Was the goal something that was impressive to me? I always thought that if I had to go big, that's when I would get something that was big in return. Have you ever felt that way? But honestly, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize that the more I place pressure on myself, the more I don't even want to say thriving, because I think inherently that is something that I'm trying to overcome right now. But it's like when you apply pressure to yourself, you automatically think like, oh, I'm going to get better. But if anything, that just led me down a further path of burnout, feeling exhausted. My nervous system was all over the place, and it just wasn't good to me. And what happened wasn't that I was getting better, but instead I literally just shut down for everything for 2 years. And when I shut down for 2 years, in that moment, it wasn't something that was readily, how can I put it? It wasn't something that was super noticeable until now. And unfortunately, my reaction to that wasn't something of, oh, I'm going to give myself grace. If anything, it made me feel very, very weak. It made me feel like I couldn't trust myself. And it made me feel like I wasn't the disciplined person that I grew up needing to be in order to be good, if that makes sense. But I think along the lines of one of my first videos was now allowing shame to enter into your life, and that's kind of the approach that I'm talking about right now, or at least that I'm trying to talk myself into. Is every day perfect when it comes to my shame? No, but I'm at least trying to eliminate the shame that comes along with the word discipline for this week. I'm not trying to get into any dramatic spirals that I usually do. Hello, Cancer self. No shaming around it, but just an honest reflection about where I am, where I want to go, and possibly who I want to be. If you're new here and you haven't watched any of my other videos, I definitely encourage soft discipline. I also encourage patience, and for most importantly, I encourage grace. Is that something that I always practice? No, but this is something that I'm learning, and this is a journey that I'm documenting on with you. So for my reset year, I'm not looking to shame myself about the things that I didn't do, but reflect on the things that happened and where I can improve into the next week. We only reset over here. We don't blame, we don't judge, and we definitely don't start from scratch. We start where we are and where we can go. I think this week I really wanted to focus on stop trying to think that everything needs to have this intensity to it. As a naturally intense person, when it comes to goals and routines and things like that, taking 2 years off from being a very rigid type A person was definitely a transition that I didn't foresee for myself, especially now that I'm in my mid 30s. But it was something that apparently the universe thought was necessary for me. So in those 2 years, I've kind of just let things go. And coming to that realization was very difficult after I came out of the brain fog of it. And I think that's kind of what happened. It was like this automatic shut off from everything. It was just like everything was overwhelming, so I'm not going to do anything. So I ended up not doing much in terms of like routines, keeping up with myself. My usual maintenance situation just didn't happen for 2 years. And now coming out of it, I'm looking like, oh wow, where did my life go? Where is the person that I'm used to. I'm like, she's not here anymore. So this new version of me, I'm not trying to shame into what I used to do with myself, because if I really am honest with me and with you, it wasn't something that was productive emotionally, physically, mentally. It was, if anything, it was more exhausting. It was more shame based. It was more, if you want to be this, you got to do this, 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 and this. And if you don't do that, you're this, this, and this. And I'm trying to change that mentality around it. And this week, it definitely came to a head where it was like, I was having these internal conversations with myself where I'm like, oh, why didn't you do this? You said that you wanted to do that. You're so lazy. You're not worth it. This is never going to happen for you because you're yuck type person. So I think this week definitely focusing on just the discipline aspect and what I want that discipline to look like when showing up in my life in this chapter. And I think one of the questions that came along with this week is, how am I building self-trust? Am I going to keep trust with myself, or am I going to continuously break it? And honestly, I feel like that softened a lot of the blows, especially the internal conversations that I was having with myself, because it's not about the end result or the perception of what other people think about me, or even because sometimes if you're anything like me, you think, oh, I want this for myself, but you have to sit back and really look like, oh, is it something that I want for myself, or is it the responsibility, the perception, the outcome that people are expected of me? And when you try to separate the two of those, of what you actually want and what other people want for you, you kind of think, okay, if I have determined what I want for myself, do I trust myself to actually follow through with that? Because before, when you're doing things, you're doing it because of the outcome that you're going to get out of other people. But when you're doing it for yourself, you're only a party of one. And you're only a party where you're the one invested into it. If you're doing it for other people, there's so many other things that go along with it. But when you're only doing it for yourself, it kind of falls, And I think all of the goals in which that I set for myself, which was to journal every day, to move my body, to clean the house, to what was the other one? I had 4 distinct ones. Read a chapter a day. All of those things are only me based. They're not based in, well, I live with my partner, so the cleaning of the house kind of goes with that. But the other 3 are just strictly me. That's only me. That's only my goals. They don't affect anybody else besides me. And honestly, I have to be honest, I don't trust myself right now. And I think that's where I'm trying to sit in that truth and try to recognize what that means for me now. Can I really trust myself with my own goals that only relate to me, that don't have any quantitative, measurable situations with it? It's only journaling. Journaling. There is no data that, probably there are. There's probably journals that suggest something, but there's nothing that anybody else is affected by the journaling besides me. Sure, you can say, oh, my attitude adjustment, but to be honest, the journal is for you. And if I can't even trust myself with the journal, what am I doing, But I can't sit here and say that I'm a bad person because I didn't journal, because I'm not in that mindset anymore. We can't operate that way anymore. So you have to start filtering your thoughts and being like, oh, well, maybe you're not doing it because of A. So what is A? So that's what we're trying to figure out right now. So every Sunday I try to sit down with myself and reflect on the week, and thus this is how the Sunday Audit was born. So I like to break it down into 3 things. Well, I like to break it down into 4 things: what went well, what I could have changed, my favorite thing, and then the intention for the week. I also like to grade myself. I know that's kind of counterintuitive, but I like giving stars to myself. It's something about getting a star, especially when you got it in school, that felt really cool. So I was like, let me just give myself what out of 5 stars how my well being is. So let's start with what went well this week. So I think the thing that went well this week is understanding my emotional state when it came to things. As you know, I'm a very driven person. So a lot of the things or outcomes that I look for are driven by something. So I've been trying to figure out what my new driven point is or what that perspective looks like. So a lot of this week was, instead of doing, was a lot of reflection. So I really appreciate myself for taking the time to look inside and like, okay, hey, you're not doing this. Why aren't you doing this? What is happening mentally, physically, emotionally that pushing you through to get something done. So sitting down with myself was pretty good because usually I kind of, or at least over the last 2 years, I don't check in with myself like that. So I, I definitely enjoy that part. I think something that could change is just me stacking on so much. Again, as a person who likes a lot of change very quickly, I am definitely that person who stacks on a lot of myself and expects a lot from myself, and I expect outcomes out of myself. And I think this week, because I tried to do a new social media kind of schedule where it was way more than what I was doing before, by Wednesday, I was so burnt out that I ended up not posting anything. And that's not the goal of this project whatsoever. The goal of the project is to make sure that I'm consistent, but I can't be consistent if my mind is in the way. So for me, it's kind of dialing it back. And then eventually, like, I believe in compounding. Eventually, I'll be able to get to the schedule I want to. But for now, I know mentally it's not something that is going to happen right now. And I'm okay with that because I know in the long run I'll get there. But I also want to make sure that I'm mentally okay with where I am right now. I think my favorite moment of this week was actually being social, and not in the sense that you think, like, not in like, oh, I'm going out to party, I'm gonna hang out with friends, all that other stuff. It was more so I left the house. I usually don't leave the house very much, and even though it was just like a lot of errand driven stuff, it wasn't, how can I put it, it was about, and my partner is very much a big person on perusing, and I'm usually not. I have a list, I go into the store, and then I'm out of the store. But I allowed myself to peruse, and it was nice. Well, I say I do it all the time. No. But I allowed myself to peruse through life this week, and I think that was my favorite moment. It wasn't just one moment, it was like a combination of moments that happened. It just felt very easy, and I often don't allow myself to feel easy. So that was nice. As far as the well being check in, emotionally, I will give myself a 4 out of 5 stars. I think emotionally, because I was more reflective this week instead of shameful on myself, it was really, really good. Mentally, I will give myself also 4 stars. I wish I had journaled out a lot of the emotions that I was feeling, and I think that could, even though that could resonate with emotionally, mentally, I associate that with journaling. I don't know why, but I wish I had written down the things that I was feeling and the revelations that I was happening in real time, because I like to look back at those moments and remind myself, like, hey, you've been here before and now you're here. So I wish I could have done that. So I'll probably give it like a 3 out of 5 stars only because of that little tidbit. Physically, your girl still has some work to do on that. I was not able to do any of the things. Oh, my light went off. That's fine. I wasn't able to do any of the workouts that I wanted to do this week, but that's also fine. I can just pick it up again next week. So physically, I'm only going to give myself a 2 out of 5 stars. I was able to still not eat out as much as I was before, and that's still saying something because I used to eat out twice a day. Yeah, twice a day. Uber Eats got a lot of money from me, and it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not funny. Is it my responsibility? Yes, but the app is deleted. That's what's important. I think next week's intention is going to be super simple, and it's going to be consistency. Consistency is going to be key for a lot of things. Like I said before, I believe in compounding. So once I get consistent on one thing, I'm able to allow something else. So for right now, my four core goals are not consistent enough for me to add on anything else. So they're going to continue throughout next week. If I can at least accomplish those every day next week to build up that consistency, that's when I'm going to start adding on some new things into my life. And also just understanding that even within that consistency, I'm not punishing myself to get it done. So while I want to make sure that everything is done every day, I have to also get my mental right where I'm not shaming myself when it doesn't get done. So it's not necessarily about, it's not that you're not doing the work, it's just about you not being in the mental space where you're punishing yourself about not getting something done, because life happens, things happen. Mentally, you're going to be maybe 20%, and you're not going to be at the 100% in order for you to do something, and that's okay. But recognizing that, okay, if I didn't get it done by Tuesday, I'm not going to start over until Monday. We're not going to do that. But I think fundamentally, I think I want to get into the mindset that my need for belonging doesn't mean that I have to subscribe to a certain lifestyle, a certain culture, or a certain way in which people do things. I have to only subscribe to the way in which I do it, in the movement that I do it, in the moments in which I do it, and also just the projection of how I do it. My timeline isn't going to fit other people's timeline, and I have to be okay with that. I have to understand when my timeline is here, and I have to understand where my timeline is going to go. I can't rely on other people to dictate that toward me, at least not in this stage. I think in my earlier years, I was able to deal with that pressure. I was able to just latch on to something and, like, okay, we're going to get this done no matter what. I think I latched on to something so hard that I sent myself to the hospital, and I don't ever want to do that again. Not for a job, not for myself, not for my partner, not for anybody. So for me, it's all about consistency without punishment for me this week. Because journaling is a part of one of my four goals, I did also want to provide some journal prompts for you. These are the ones that I'm going to be using this week, just to dive a little bit deeper into what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and how I'm going to approach next week. So my journal prompts are: where have I confused intensity with effectiveness? What does discipline look like when I feel safe? What small action this week helped me trust myself more? Take some time to really deeply reflect on those questions and write your answers down. You can write them down in the comment section if you feel comfortable to do that, or just take some time to write in your personal journal. But I think those are some questions that can ground us in this weekend and moving into next one. If this reflection style fits you, or you feel as though you need a little bit of a push or just something that can ground you while you're moving along in your new journey, I do have a free intentional bundle down below that you can get. It includes a habit tracker for 30 days where you only do 4, because I don't believe you should do a lot of things, just a few things. It includes the weekly reset, where basically they're a combination of tasks that you have to do at the end of the week in order for you to feel better about going into the next one. And then it's also somewhere where you can reflect on how you want to see your life moving forward. So what's working well with your life right now? What do you want to change? What do you want to see? Who do you want to be? And that's all free down in the link below. Listen, it's not about perfection. It's not about shame. It's not about overexerting yourself in order to get to the goals that you want. It's about soft discipline. It's about doing the things that you know you want to do, but also the things that you like to do, and just making sure that you don't shame yourself, because we don't shame ourselves over here. Okay? So I hope you have a good beginning to your week, and I hope to see you next time. See ya, friend.